Chicago, 7:42 p.m. The light turned red, and Vincent Moretti, Chicago's most feared man, was mid-sentence with his fiancée when his voice suddenly died. "Vincent. What's wrong?" Natasha asked, annoyed. He didn't answer. His stare had locked onto the crosswalk ahead. A woman stepped into the light. Her coat was worn, her steps unsteady, 2 infants pressed against her chest. And when she lifted her head, just for a second, Vincent felt the world hit him like a bullet. "Scarlet," he breathed, the name he'd buried for 14 months. Natasha scoffed. "Do you know her?" Vincent's jaw clenched. His hands shook, hands that had never trembled, not even under gunfire, as he watched Scarlet kiss one crying baby, humming softly, unaware he existed 3 cars away. The twins were the right age. His pulse crashed. His past was no longer behind him. It was crossing the street, holding 2 children who might be his. And in that single breath, Chicago's most dangerous man realized he wasn't ready for the truth walking straight toward him. Like the video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales to follow the story. The moment Scarlet vanished into the evening crowd, Vincent's breath turned shallow. The red glow of the traffic light washed over his face, sharpening the tension in his jaw. Everything inside him pushed forward, toward her, toward the 2 babies who looked impossibly familiar, yet he forced himself to sit still until the light changed. Natasha kept talking about reservations at the restaurant, but her words were just background noise. All he saw was Scarlet's trembling shoulders, the protective way she'd curled herself around the infants, and the exhaustion that didn't belong on a woman who used to brighten every room she walked into. By the time he stepped out of the car, the city felt different. Every sound, car horns, distant sirens, chatter from nearby bars, seemed far away, as if he were wading through fog. His right-hand man Marco tried to brief him on tomorrow's meetings, but Vincent silenced him with a raised hand. "Find her," he said. "Tonight." Marco studied him, eyebrows set low. "Do you want details or discretion?" "I want the truth," Vincent replied. "All of it." That night, he didn't touch his dinner. Every polished surface in the restaurant reflected the strain on his face. Natasha noticed and tried to pry, but Vincent had nothing left to give. His thoughts circled one woman, one moment, one unbearable possibility. Scarlet had been pregnant when he left. When he finally returned home, the estate's silence wrapped around him like a punishment. He pulled open the curtains and stared down at the glittering city, trying to imagine which light might have been hers. Hours passed before Marco arrived, holding a thick file. His expression unusually grim. Vincent took it, skimmed the first page and felt his throat tighten. A rundown building. 5th floor walk-up. No security. A job that barely paid enough to raise 1 child, let alone 2. Then the hospital debt, an amount that meant nothing to him but could crush someone like Scarlet. He stopped on the page listing the children. Leo Vincent Morgan. Luna Rose Morgan. She had given their son his name. Even after everything. Even after he vanished without explanation. He didn't speak for a full minute. When he finally did, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Where was I when she needed me?" Marco shifted uneasily but said nothing. The following night, he found himself outside Cook County Hospital, leaning against a pillar, hands buried deep into his coat pockets. At 2 a.m., the door slid open and Scarlet emerged. Hair pulled back, cheeks hollow, steps slow from exhaustion. She only wanted to reach her car, nothing more. Vincent stepped out of the shadows. "Scarlet." She froze. Her fingers tightened around her pepper spray. When she recognized him, her face hardened instantly. "You don't get to say my name," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of 14 months of abandonment. When she demanded answers, he told her everything. Blackwood's threat, his fear. His belief that leaving her was the only way to keep her safe. But Scarlet didn't flinch. She pointed at his chest, eyes burning. "You took my choice away." Every word felt like a strike, not because she was cruel but because she was right. She told him about her pregnancy, about going to his club, about being dragged out like a stranger. When he realized Marco had been responsible, rage ripped through him. But the moment he stepped closer, Scarlet stepped back. "I survived without you," she said. "I can keep doing that." Before he could reply, his phone vibrated. Marco's voice was sharp. "Boss, Blackwood's on the move." Scarlet stiffened. Vincent didn't hesitate. "Come with me. Tonight only. If you want to leave tomorrow, I won't stop you." She hated that she believed him. She hated that her baby's safety depended on the man who had once destroyed her. But she followed, because mothers don't gamble with danger. For a few days the estate felt safe. Vincent tried learning to care for the babies. Clumsily, awkwardly, but with a sincerity Scarlet hadn't expected. Even when she tried to ignore him, he kept showing up at the crib at 3 a.m., whispering gentle stories in a voice she'd never heard before. But the peace didn't last. Natasha arrived unannounced, heels echoing across marble floors, and her rage exploded the moment she saw Scarlet with Luna in her arms. Vincent stepped between them. "Those are my children," he said. Natasha's face blanched. She screamed about betrayal, alliances, her father's power, none of which mattered to Vincent anymore. When he said, "Then I choose war," something inside Scarlet shifted. Not forgiveness, but understanding. He wasn't the man she'd last seen 14 months ago. That same night, as Vincent confronted Marco and learned the depth of betrayal, Scarlet wandered the hallway, unable to sleep. When she peeked into the nursery, she found Vincent asleep in the chair, hand on the crib, as if even unconscious he refused to leave the children unprotected. For the first time, she covered him with a blanket. And for the first time, he didn't wake alone. But the real storm struck when one of Vincent's own men, the traitorous Tony, cut the security feed and let Blackwood's forces inside the estate. The first gunshot shattered the glass and every illusion of safety. Scarlet grabbed the babies and ran for the panic room, heart pounding, bare feet hitting cold floor. But Tony blocked her path. "Move," she snarled. "You won't touch them." She fought ferociously, biting, kicking, clawing with every ounce of motherhood's fury, but he overpowered her and knocked her unconscious. When Vincent received the video of Scarlet tied to a chair, her face bruised, the babies locked in a metal cage behind her, something inside him snapped. He left New York instantly. Warehouse 7 was a battlefield waiting to ignite. Blackwood circled Scarlet like prey, Natasha beside him, gun in hand. Vincent arrived alone as ordered, but the tremor in Blackwood's grin revealed he still underestimated the man who had once built an empire with nothing but fear and loyalty. When Natasha pressed the gun to Scarlet's temple, Scarlet lifted her chin. "You can't steal what was never yours." The moment Natasha swung to slap her, Vincent whistled, sharp, cutting through the air. Gunfire erupted as his men stormed in from the rafters, from behind crates, from shadows no one saw coming. The warehouse exploded in chaos. Vincent cut Scarlet free, she screamed for the children, and Marco sprinted through falling debris to unlock the cage. Blackwood, furious and cornered, raised his gun at Scarlet. Vincent didn't think, he moved. The bullet caught him in the chest. Scarlet's scream echoed through the steel beams and dust. Hours later, after blood loss, surgery, and a heartbeat that refused to quit, Vincent opened his eyes just long enough to whisper, "I'm your idiot." The weeks that followed changed everything. Scarlet stayed by his bedside every day. Vincent learned to walk again with Luna holding onto his pant leg. Leo learned to say "de" long before he learned "mama," something Scarlet teased him about endlessly. Little by little, the cold walls between them thawed. But true justice hadn't arrived yet. Blackwood survived the warehouse ambush, injured, hiding, desperate to rebuild what he lost. And Natasha, bitter and vengeful, fled to her father's estate, plotting her comeback. Vincent didn't rush revenge. He recovered first. He rebuilt his life. He held his children, stood beside Scarlet during therapy sessions, made bottles at dawn, and relearned what it meant to be a man who protected instead of destroyed. When he was finally strong enough, justice came quietly. Natasha's father discovered her alliance with Blackwood, the rival who had once tried to destroy him. In their world, betrayal was unforgivable. Natasha wasn't killed, but she was stripped of status, wealth, and influence. Her father disowned her publicly, leaving her name as a warning to others. Loyalty is a currency, and she had spent hers recklessly. But Blackwood's fall was far more final. Vincent didn't hunt him. He didn't need to. Blackwood attempted to rebuild his crew, unaware that one of his remaining lieutenants was already on Vincent's payroll. One night, inside an abandoned factory where Blackwood once ruled, the lieutenant locked the doors and stepped aside as federal agents swarmed the building. Blackwood was arrested with enough charges to bury him for life. Arms trafficking, racketeering, multiple homicides, financial crimes spanning 2 decades. Evidence appeared in places only Vincent could have planted. In court, Scarlet sat quietly behind Vincent. Not because she wanted revenge, but because she deserved closure. Blackwood's glare tried to wound her, but she didn't look away. The judge denied bail. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, Blackwood's roar shook the courtroom. Vincent took Scarlet's hand. "It's over," he whispered. And for the first time in years, she believed him. In the weeks that followed the trial, the Moretti home felt different. Not quieter, not safer, but fuller. Vincent moved through each day with a steadiness Scarlet had never seen in him before. The man who once ruled by fear now woke early to warm bottles, to fold tiny clothes, to walk slowly beside a woman he once believed he had to let go to protect. And Scarlet, who'd spent years convincing herself she didn't deserve love, finally allowed the idea that she did. Sometimes they spoke about the past without flinching. Sometimes they sat in silence, letting the weight of everything they survived settle into something softer. Vincent no longer hid behind power or pride. Scarlet no longer hid behind strength that cost her all her softness. They were learning, slowly, imperfectly, to build a life not shaped by fear but by choice. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees and cast a warm line of gold across the yard, Vincent lifted Leo onto his shoulders while Luna toddled after him, laughing. Scarlet watched from the porch, one hand resting lightly over her heart. For the first time, the future didn't feel like a threat. Felt like a promise. And when Vincent looked back at her, eyes steady, she understood the truth they had earned together. Some people don't change because they're forced to. They change because love leaves them no other path. If this story moved you, please like, share, and help Canada's Heartfelt Tales grow by subscribing for more powerful journeys of hope and redemption.